Welcome guys. So today we're going to give you a tutorial on how to wire your LED handles that you just bought from us, or maybe any other handle, but we have this handle here, our custom milled handles. They look gorgeous, but we are going to give you the run through on how I would approach the vehicle and how to hook it up and run your wires and stuff and test for your DRL functions and also your turn signals and stuff like that. So let's get into it. This is kind of the run through of the tools that I have, maybe some that you'll need also. These here are your modules that you more than likely received for your handles. These will hook up to each of them for these 4 handles. And I have this wire loom here. This is typically we use 22 gauge wire, and you'll have 3 of them. So you'll have ground, you'll have your DRL function, and then you'll have your turn signal here. That's how I hook it up. This is also another example of wire loom that you can also use. It's the 3 wires, same thing, but I like this because it's insulated and it's clean. It'll look nicer. So, and then another tool that's going to be pretty important is your circuit tester here. This is what you're using to test your DRL and your turn signal, and that's gonna come in super handy. And I have my solder here, all this, torch, wire strippers, and then I like to use the blade for splicing into your mirror harness. That's what you're tapping into. Some heat shrink to make stuff look nice, electrical tape, and this is what I use to mount the modules inside of the doors, and I'll show you that. This is the Gorilla tape. It's probably the best mounting tape that you'll get out there. It's Home Depot, wherever you want to buy it. This is the best stuff to use. This here is vacuum line. So I found this to be pretty helpful for me getting your wiring through your door jambs and the boots. So you're going to use this to shove it through your boot on the door, and then you're going to insert your wires through here, and it's going to feed all the way through, and you'll be able to pull it and then pull this out. It's super helpful, especially when you're working with some delicate wires in those door jambs that you're not going to be wanting to mess with at all. So, like, from experience, if you get in wires in there and you're cutting them, like, it's not a fun time, trust me. And a few other, I have the interior for this truck already disassembled for the most part, but 10 mil, 7 mil, stuff like that, you'll pry tool that can come in handy as well. So all right, so first things first, I'm going to start with testing your functions. It's probably why most of you are watching, figuring out how to what your DRL wire is and your turn signal as well. So I'm going to start with that first. So in here, this is what truck is this? 2024, I believe. GMC, that's the truck I'm going to be using. So typically this is your wiring harness here for your mirrors. This is what we are tapping into. We're going to splice into these wires. So you're going to run your rear door handles through the boots and then through this panel here, and it's going to run up all the way through this boot, and then it's going to come back up here and meet this front one that we're also going to install and put it into here. So starting out, this is the circuit tester. I have a ground here already for inside the body, so I'm going to use this. You can also use the battery under the hood. You can just stretch it across, that's fine. So I'm going to hook it up here to the ground. And so for example, this is what we're going to be getting into, is these little holes here. So we're going to be touching each of these. They're not going to turn on right now because nothing is on, which is good. So just like an example. And then so for the DRL, this is typically what it's going to look like here, and you're going to flip this switch here, and that's going to activate all your DRLs, your mirrors, your cab lights, and your headlights, stuff like that. And from there, we're going to just tap each of these holes until we get one to power on right there. So that one's more than likely it. Just go through the rest just in case. If you happen to have any other of these wires that turn on, it's easy to figure out which one is going to be your actual DRL, just in any case that yours has it. So this one is going to be your DRL, and to test that, I'll just keep it plugged in there, and I'm going to flip this switch off, and that's obviously the indicator to show, you know, that's your DRL function. And then, so I'm going to keep note of that. It's going to be this top right wire here that we're going to splice into. That's going to be what you're going to put your white LED to, or amber if you're wanting to keep amber only. And so to test for the turn signal, you're going to have to turn the ignition on here. I just typically like to do your 4 ways just to turn the blinkers on. So blinkers are going. I could turn that DRL function on too, by the way. Let's see if I could show you that. So it's DRL. I'm gonna be tapping these. And those. Boom, right there. So that one is going to be your turn signal. That's going to be the other one we splice into for your wires on the handles. So I can go through the rest too. None of those are going to turn on. Whatever. So that's going to be your blinker. That's going to be, and I'll keep note of that. It's going to be your middle one here. It's going to be this one here. Just for this truck. Obviously, you know, other trucks are going to have different colored wires, stuff like that. So, and that is basically how I go about testing the wires that you're going to be hooking up to. If in any case maybe your mirrors don't have a turn signal function, or DRLs, I guess, if you're wanting to do these handles, you're going to have to run it through your firewall and get to your headlights, and it'll be the same exact process doing testing with the circuit tester here, and you'll do the DRL functions, go through it, and also your turn signal. So that's what you're going to hook up to rather than your mirrors if you don't happen to have that function. So now that we have tested the wires to figure out which ones we're going to be splicing into, we're going to, I start in the rear to run your wires through your boot and then get it to this handle here for the module. So this is your module that you're going to receive. This here is your ground, and then this is going to be your white LED here, and this is going to be your turn signal. So, and this is the wire here that we're going to be using to tap, you know, to connect together. I like to solder also. You can use butt connectors if you want, but I trust the solder more than anything. So from here, I would grab your wire loom or your wire, and I kind of like just roughly measure out how much I'm going to be using. So we'll step over here. I use it from the back side. It's a little tight, but I kind of just start here. This is where the handle is going to start, and then I just kind of stretch it out like so. I'm going to need that much roughly, and then it's going to go through the boot, something like that, and then we'll go through here all the way to the driver up here, and then it still has to go through this boot as well. So it's going to be quite a bit of wire. I don't know how much exactly for feet wise, but it's just a rough estimate. Honestly, you'll always want too much wire more than too little, so just a rough estimate there. It's going to go through there, and then it's going to go up here. So that's how much I'm going to use today. And then I'll just come over here, grab wire strippers, and just snip it there. and then I'll use the rest of this more than likely for the front door here for the driver handle. So now that we have this wire cut out, I start in the rear. You can start in the front, just preference, whatever you want. I like to work front to back, so we have to get this wire here. So this is where the vacuum line comes in handy. I'm going to get it through this boot, and it'll help feeding wire through. And then we're gonna, it's a little tight here, but this is a hole on this truck specifically that we're gonna feed the wire through. Let's go inside of this pillar, and it's gonna run down all the way against that floorboard there, and then so on. So I'm gonna do that now, and then I'll get back with you, right? All right, so now I have this vacuum line through the boot. This is kind of an example of what it's gonna be feeding it through. It's a very difficult process to get it through that boot. It does take a good amount of while. If you don't have this, it's gonna take you a while, being that the wire is pretty flimsy, and just trying to feed it through and pull it, it's a long process. So this makes it much easier. You can see that it's pretty tough. That's kind of the strength you're looking for. And when you're doing it, I just kind of want to note that this here on the edge and on the bottom, both ends are rounded off, so it's not sharp enough to cut these wires that are in this rubber here. So now I'm going to show you that this is the one end of the wire. I'm just gonna feed it through, and just like that, and then you'll pull it however much slack you're gonna need. So now that I have it through, I'm gonna feed it through that door hole. That is where the rubber was connected to the door. So just like that, I'm gonna just pull the slack. Like so. And then taking this back out, now that I have the wire through this boot, I'm just gonna pull this vacuum line out, just like that. And we'll just pull it all the way through. And there you go. So now your wire is through this boot, so it's much easier to get it through there. Let me see. Alright, so now I have a decent amount pulled up. See, you can see like the module is going to be mounted inside of this door. It's going to be somewhere in this rough area, just right next to where this handle, comes through. So this is enough slack here, and now I will show you the process of putting the modules inside the door. Alright, so module here, this is the one we're going to use for the rear. This is where the part I like to use this Gorilla mounting tape. So I'll just put it on the back of the driver there, the module. And should probably use scissors, but that's all I got right now. Just like that. And I'll just make sure it's adhered really well to the back of it. And then that's how I apply the mounting tape. So this is the part where I'm going to use this driver, and we're going to splice these wires into this. So I'm going to do, like I said before, I'm going to use this ground here, black to black. I'm going to use this white on the red. You can do it any way you want, but it's kind of just an example. And then I'll do this one here. These two, this is going to be your turn signal. And also I want to note that if you're wanting amber only for your handles, you're not going to need a third wire. You could do ground and power, that's it. So if you're doing that, it would be just your ground, obviously, and then your turn signal, or not turn signal, your amber, just to the power, and that's how you would go about, and it'd be the same exact process. And then on that DRL function, once you get to the wire harness, that's what you're going to hook your amber to, so instead of the white. That's if you're wanting that only. So I'm going to get these soldered real quick, and then we'll show you mounting inside the door. So now we have these soldered together. You can see I did the heat shrink here on all of the 3 of these. That's how I like to do it. It looks nice and uniform. And I also have this bigger piece here that I'm going to slide over and then also shrink it onto. It's just personal preference. That peace of mind, have like really good connections and stuff like that. And also, I want to know, I like to take pictures usually of my connections here, just like that, just for note, because if you have different colored wires, sometimes you can just forget. You're like, oh, which ones did I connect to? So I just picture reference, and then I'll slide that over, and then now we can just grab a torch here, and we'll just shrink it right over. Beautiful. And like I said, it's personal preference. You can use butt connectors if you want. I don't like to. It's just the solder is super clean, and it looks very much more professional like that, like so. So now that it's soldered, I'll show you. Might be hard with the lighting, just being tight areas. So I'm gonna take off this backing on the mounting tape, like so, and it's just getting it close to this where your handle is coming into, because your handle is going to have the other connection that's going to this driver, so it's going to plug in here. So I'm going to kind of it's going to be mid door, kind of like right here on the inside. So I'm going to make sure all this is, and it's a flat surface, just like that, and then I'll push it on, and I'll show you what it looks like after. You really want to make sure it's on that door. If you have trouble with it mounting at all, I suggest alcohol, and because there's a grease that can be around these doors, that if you're getting it on here and it's not adhering well, you just want to wipe that off with alcohol and make sure that mounting tape is really sticking. So now that it's in there, that's basically the gist of it. And then we'll connect here to your handle, and that'll be it. And the next process is just making it clean. So the things you want to watch out for when you're doing this is your window here. It's got to be able to roll down. There's a track inside here that I'll show you. You're going to want to go around that track where the window is, coming down. So that's where I will grab this Gorilla Tape. You could use duct tape, whatever. I'm just going to do the one for now. I'll do a good amount inside of there, but I'll just show you. So I'm going to grab this loose wire. I'm going to just make sure it's flush against that door. It's kind of hard to explain when you can't see it. All right, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe let me put a flashlight in there.
Actually, no, you're good. I can get in there. So.
Right in there. So you can see, like, that's kind of the process that I go about, keeping that wire against the door and it's not, loose anywhere inside of here. So I'm going to do it all the way against here. And then, so this is the boot that I was talking about, this little track that you're going to watch out for on that door. So it's gonna, your window's gonna slide in between there. You're gonna want to go behind that, and you're just gonna keep it flush all the way until you get to this boot entrance here, and that's where you're gonna plug in, keep going from there. So now I'll do that. I'll make it all look nice and show you guys the after. All right, so I have the wire all nice and flush against this door inside here. You can see it runs all the way through there, and it's behind that window boot right there, and it's going through the door jamb already. And that's pretty much the process of getting it through there. And now that we have the rear done, all that's left really for the rear too is when you're putting your handle in, all you got to do is plug it, and that's it. So the next process is going to be getting the rest of the wire through this B pillar here, and then we'll run it through the front, and obviously we'll make our way through the front door boot as well. So I have the wire through this hole, like I said, and it's coming through this pillar, and it's going also I want to know behind this seat belt too. It's not crossing over this seat belt, so it's going behind it. You don't want to interfere with that at all. And then on these clips on this pillar here, you're going to want to go, behind them as well. Make sure when you're putting this back on, you're not going to hit the wire, is what I mean. And you're not going to cut it at all. And then I have the rest of it through here. Switch sides. It's all running along here. And then I will show you. And it's going to be just like the rear. We're going to do the vacuum line through that boot, and we're just going to run it all the way through, and it's going to go through the door here, and it's going to come up, and then we'll be able to touch our mirror harness here. All right, so we have the rear wire here. Right here I have just an extra piece of thicker wire. I fed it through this hole just like it was on the back, through here, because it's a little difficult in this area behind the dash to feed wire through. So I fed this through here, and then I met it here. So now that I have this, I'm going to just do that. I'm gonna grab this wire and just kind of quickly tape it like that, just so they're together. And then I'll grab this wire, and then I'll carefully just feed it back and pull it all through. It's a little tight. Boom, just like that. And then we have all that wire. You just pull the rest of your slack through. Make sure you have enough to where it's a little loose back here, and enough slack to tuck in back here as well. And then I already have the vacuum line through this boot, so same deal. I'll just feed it through the top, and there it is, just like that. And then we'll just pull this vacuum line through this way from the top to the bottom. Just like that. Perfect. So that's pretty much the more difficult part, is just getting it through those boots. It does take a while. And then now I can just feed it through that hole where the boot connects to the door, and it will go behind. Just like I said, the same deal with the front. It has a track here that the window is going to follow, and then we'll go behind that, and then up here through the harness hole, I'll just like that, pull it through. And that's what we're going to use. This is the rear wire. And then the next step that I will do is mount this driver to the inside of here. And then same deal, it's going to be shorter, obviously, being that it's the front. We're We're gonna run it through, tape it against the door, and we'll meet it here. And we're gonna get the 3 wires, and we're going to connect them together, rear, front, and then the wires that we tested for on the DRL function, they'll just tap in just like that. And then we'll solder, and then we'll electrical tape it all, make it look nice and neat, and then pretty much button up away. All right, so we have the front, all the wires ran through. On the driver door, we have the module here. I already peeled the double-sided tape, so same deal as the rear. I'm gonna mount it just like towards the middle of this door. Get this out of the way. So, like so. Just pick it just right across from where the handle is going to be, and then you'll push it on. All right, just like that. And then I'm going to tidy up the wires, push them, tape them against the door like I said, and then on this I'm going to run it behind the track just because it'll run behind the track. And then this is going to be the driver here. I have a lot of slack on this, what's it called, on the rear. So, and then once I get it tidied up there, I'll show you the process of splicing it into the mirror wire harness. All right, so we left off from mounting this module to the door. I went ahead and tidied the wire against the door just like it was in the rear. One thing I did want to note too, I forgot to mention, is this crash bar here. This bar you want to be careful with, especially with the one that's coming through this boot. You're going to want the wire behind this crash bar, so against the inside of the door. And if you put it in front of it, you're going to pinch your wires, and that's not what you want at all. You're going to have to restart. It's a pain after that. So make sure you're aware of this bar here. That's where the door is closing, so be sure to avoid that. So I have the wires from the front and the rear. They're all conjoined here. I have, my ground, and then I have my turn signal here, and then this is going to be the white DRL. And just to recall, we had the harness. We tested the functions in the beginning of the video. I have it spliced already, so you can see here. This is going to be our DRL. And then our turn signal is here, this middle one. That one's also spliced, ready to go. And then for the ground, I also did this black wire. Typically, it's always a black wire. I've never failed doing that. So let me see if I can. It's a little tight in here. Let me see. There we go. All right, I also have that one spliced, like so. So the next process of getting the wires through there, I use this blade to cut all the insulation on it. I put this right in between these wires, like so, and I'll kind of make sure they're even on each side. Open it up a little. And then, so I have my ground. I'm going to grab these two from the front and the rear, and I'm just going to feed it right through that hole that I just opened up. And then I'll just twist it around that wire. Just like so. So just like that. This harness. So it's kind of connected there, you can see. So from there, we'll connect the rest of these and solder, and then I'll show you the functions with the lights turning on. All right. So now we have the 3 wires spliced together. Now that they're all spliced into the harness, I'm kind of going to show you how to just make it look factory OEM again. Just hide all of your wiring that you just did. So essentially you're just wrapping your electrical tape around it, And just like it was before, we'll go up to this piece, make sure it's all laid flat, and just like that. All right, just like that. So looks pretty brand new, and your wires in there. So that's pretty much the gist of the process. We'll plug it back into our mirror here and put your push pin in. So that's pretty much, you couldn't even tell that you messed with it. So from here, you're gonna want to test out all your connections and stuff. So I'm gonna turn the ignition, and then I'm going to turn on our DRL function. So we'll grab our handle and we'll be able to plug it into the driver that's in here. We'll just do it from the inside of the door. So here, we'll just plug it in, and then boom, you got power right there. And that's basically all it is. And then I'll do turn signal. Oh wait, I'll just do 4-way. There's our turn signal, and then we'll turn it off, back to white DRL. And then you will turn the DRL off. Oh wait. There we go. There we go, being stubborn. It should just turn off. There you go. On, off. So our DRL works. And we'll go to the rear. We'll unplug this again. All right. Now we'll make our way to the rear. Test out this one. Make sure everything's good to go. So we'll grab the other end. Plug it in. Oh, kind of position it like that. Let me go turn it on real quick. And then you can see DRL is working. And I'll hit that 4-ways real quick. Beautiful. Switchback just like it should be. We'll turn it off and it should go right back to our white DRL. Just like that. So when you go to put the handles in, you will feed this wire right through the hole, of course, just like that. We'll feed it through here, and then it'll plug in from the inside to that module. And when you do plug it in, make sure, just like when you were putting the wires against the door, you're gonna wanna bundle this a little bit and tape it flush against that door as well, so you're still not hitting your window when it's rolling down. So, all right guys, so that basically concludes our tutorial here with our wiring of the LED handles that you received. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. We will address them accordingly. There may have been some stuff I missed out on, of course. But yeah, same process on the other side. It's the exact same thing, no different. And you'll go to that harness on the mirror as well. So yeah, if you're interested in getting these handles here, head over to Legends Auto Parts and we'll get you taken care of.